Paula Dean and Real Women of Philadelphia. I'm Miller-Tobin. Welcome to my kitchen. So glad you could be here today because today we are going to be making crab risotto with an artichoke cream sauce. And I'm so excited about this dish. I think you will be too. So let's get started. I am going to first start off with 3 pieces of prosciutto. We're going to get that started here in the pan, and we're going to let that cook off. To that, we're going to be adding 2 shallots, which have been diced, 1 clove of garlic, which has been minced, and we're going to let that all cook together here for just a couple of moments. This is what I like to call building our flavor. In the pan, I've got my prosciutto, my shallots, and my garlic. And we're going to let that simmer and sizzle until it gets all nice and juicy. To that, we're going to add about 2 tablespoons of butter and 2 tablespoons of olive oil just before we add the risotto rice, before we start adding our cooking liquid. What I went ahead and I started here on the stove a few minutes ago is our stock. Today I'm using a chicken stock. In it I'm using a little packet, a little potpourri of herbs that will help flavor the stock, which will help flavor the risotto. So we're building a lot of base flavors into the risotto, but they're all nice and mild because we don't want to overshow our main ingredient, the crab. So we're going to get this started and I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, so our risotto, our prosciutto, our onions, which are shallots, and our garlic, they're all nice and toasty. And we are ready to put in our ½ cup of white wine. We're going to add that. Woo! Look at the bubble and steam. Great way to get a facial. And then also to that, I'm going to add my first cup of chicken broth, my chicken stock. Okay. That's about a cup. I'm going to stir this in. So, everything's all nice and covered. We're going to turn the temperature down to a medium-low. We're going to put the lid on and we'll come back and we're going to check this about every 5 to 7 minutes. As the liquid absorbs, we're going to need to add more. But while the risotto is risottoing, we're going to get started on our artichoke cream sauce. Okay, I've moved the risotto over to the other burner because we're going to be getting started on our artichoke cream sauce here in a minute. So far, the risotto has just about absorbed all of the liquid. I'm going to give it just a tiny pinch of sea salt and add a couple more ladles of the broth. And this again, we're using organic chicken stock today. That smells delicious. I could eat a big bowl of it right now. Okay, we're going to let that continue to simmer, and we're going to get started on our cream sauce. You're going to want to make sure your heat is on about a medium. We're going to start off with a ¼ cup of butter and a ¼ cup of flour. And basically we're making a bechamel sauce, but to that we're going to add a few things and what I like to call floof it up a little bit. So you want to get your butter and your all-purpose flour is what we used, all incorporated. I don't know if you can see that. This is also what you would do if you were wanting to make a roux. This essentially is a roux for other sauces, for gravies, stews. It's a good way to thicken. But we're going to get this all melted. You don't want your heat to be too high because then your butter is going to separate and you don't want that. You want it to melt. You don't want it to separate. So once we have this all melted and whisked together, we're going to add half a cup of wine to that. We're going to add 2 cups of whole milk, 3 ounces of original Philadelphia cream cheese, and 1/3 of a cup of Asiago Fresco. Now Asiago Fresco is Asiago cheese, and Fresco just means fresh and young. It's not an aged Asiago, and it has a real light, tender flavor, and it's much softer than your aged Asiagos, and I really like it for using in sauces. So I need my heat up just a little bit more to get this melted. That's looking good. Okay, my sauce is reduced, and now I've whisked in my 2 cups of whole milk. And we're going to get this all incorporated. And then to that, we're going to add a pinch of sea salt and just a little bit of pepper. Your spices in any sauce you're going to want to do to taste. Your taste is probably going to be a little bit different than mine, so that's why we don't ever put a set amount. We just talk in pinches and dashes. So just a pinch of sea salt, and grab my pepper. Just give it a little bit of fresh cracked black pepper, and we'll whisk that in. Okay, I'm going to let that set a moment. Check my risotto. Oh, it's coming along nicely. That looks delicious. Now for my cream sauce over here, I've got the milk added, we have the white wine, we have the butter and the flour, and now I am ready to add 3 ounces of Philadelphia cream cheese. So we're going to I'm also going to float in my 1/3 of a cup of artichoke hearts. And we're just going to let this sit over a medium-low heat. And we're going to let this get all nice and melty and creamy and delicious. Okay, we're moments away from plating things up here, and it is smelling delicious. I can hardly stand it. We've added the cream cheese to the risotto, the 3 ounces of cream cheese to the risotto during the last process of adding the stock. I'm now going to go ahead and add my pound of jumbo lump crab meat, and I'm gently going to fold it in. You don't want to do too much aggressive stirring of the crab because you don't want to break apart those really nice, big, juicy, tender pieces of crab. So we're just going to fold that in gently, and we're going to let that warm up so that meat comes up to the temperature of the risotto, so everything's nice and hot and delicious. We're going to let that set for just a moment. Now, with all cooking, you're going to want to make sure you're tasting things as you go along. And while we were away, I tasted my sauce, and even though I've made it before, something was missing. What was missing was the little bit of tart, a little bit of tang, a little bit of acid. So I grabbed a lemon from the fridge, sliced it up and squeezed the juice of 1 whole lemon into our sauce. But our sauce is done, and we're ready to plate things up. We're going to give it plate a little bit of color. Creamy, hot, steamy, delicious. So let's see how this is. So good. Crab is light and delicate. The cream sauce doesn't overpower it. And I really made the right decision by tasting the sauce and then adding the lemon juice. Just enough. I wish you were here to share it with me. But for now, I'm just going to have to serve up a big old plate for my husband. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you next time.